The nation that used to be known as Cape Verde is an interesting and amazing country. Since 1975, that it won independence from Portugal, whenever it sent a diplomatic cable or created a tourism brochure, the name of the country was usually translated into the native tongue of the country being contacted. It was Cape Verde to the English-speaking world, Cape Verde in Finland, Sweden, and Germany, while it was Capo Verde in Italy. However, all of that is a thing of the past, as the country in 2013 made a rare official request and changed its name to Cabo Verde. It's time to talk nothing but politics on this program, Strictly Politics. I am Segun Adebo Wale. We'll take a short break, and when we come back, we'll serve you the menu on our program today. In Nigeria here, the executive and the legislature have been up in arms against each other, and the bone of contention this time around is the ordering, or, depending on which side you are, the reordering of the 2019 elections. While the executive wants the status quo to remain, meaning it will be a two-leg process, and the presidential election will be the first election, the National Assembly is conversing for a three-leg process, and the National Assembly wants the presidential election to be the last one. But then you'll probably ask these questions. Does it really matter which election comes first? Or is there more to it than meets the eye? We'll dissect these and other questions on this program today. For starters, let us find out what is happening in the political space within and outside Nigeria.
Lovewell Plus app is bigger and better. Watch all our shows with just a click.
Let him have the right to decide what happens with your body.
Watch inspiring, informative, and entertaining programs. You can comment, like, and share. Watch our live TV and web TV on your mobile devices. Watch the big stories in real time or when you have the time. Experience Lovewell Plus app right now. Download Lovewell Plus app on Android, iOS, and BlackBerry. Go to Google Play Store, Apple App Store, or Windows Phone Store. Welcome to the bigger picture. Lovewell Plus, beyond television.
Senators pushing for the override of President Muhammadu Buhari's veto on the Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2018 have met in Lagos, dashing hopes of resolving the face-off between the Senate and the President on the matter. Sources in the legislature confirmed that a pro-Senate register seeking the override of the veto, which is kept by Northeast Senator of the APC, was said to have risen to 67 from the initial 63 as at last week. The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has told all registered political parties in Niger State to stop organizing political campaigns, saying that doing so contravenes the Electoral Act 2010. INEC said in a statement that it had to remind the political parties of the regulation because its attention has been drawn to the commencement of electioneering campaigns by political parties in breach of the electoral law. Cameroon has conducted Senate elections as tensions continue to soar in the French-majority country's Anglophone regions, where separatist rebels have been fighting government forces for several months. Some 10,000 municipal councillors across Cameroon voted for 70 members of the upper house for a duration of 5 years. Appointees to the 30 remaining seats will be named later by President Paul Biya. And the winners of Italy's election have agreed on electing new speakers for both houses of parliament, both highly prestigious posts. Forza Italia veteran Elisabetta Casellati was chosen as president of the Senate. It came after last-minute talks healed a rift which almost brought about the collapse of the Conservative alliance.
As usual on this program, we allow Nigerians to have their say, and here is what some Nigerians think about the ordering, or is it reordering, of the 2019 elections.
Laws like this should not be something that the Senate, the rep can just make a decision that let's amend it this way to favor. It's supposed to be something that you seek the public opinion. You understand? That you seek the public opinion that we want to amend this. Because of this, you should give us a reason that we are amending this law because of this, and that. So the people will now decide on that should we do it. But now they want to change the date, and so, but it doesn't make sense. We are not aware, they are aware. Why they are doing it, we don't know, but they know, and they can't tell us. It doesn't make any sense. So I'm not in support of that.
But the point is that they are trying to shift it so that it will suit them. Maybe. I don't know. Because INEC have already said what they want, how they want to work. But these people now want it in a way that it will suit them, maybe to come back. That's the way I think about it. And there's nothing we can do about it.
The reordering of election, I prefer that there should be the presidential election first, then others will follow.
My view is just that I doubt whether that will affect any results of the election. I believe the electorates will vote the way they want. So this either they should reorder it or put it forward or put this one forward. The electorates will still vote and they will vote their candidates. So I doubt whether it will have any part on the results.
If you have just joined us, you're on to Strictly Politics, and we're looking at the ordering or reordering of the 2019 elections. We had a chat with legal practitioner cum human rights activist, Barrister Jiti Ogunye, and I'm sure you'll find the interview interesting and very analytical. Weeks after President Muhammadu Buhari declined assent on the Peace Corps bill, he has also rejected yet another bill, this time around, the one reordering the 2019 elections, while the Constitution stipulated in the Electoral Act that the elections will hold on two legs, the amendment being canvassed by the National Assembly in a three-leg process. Legal practitioner and human rights activist, Barrister Jiti Ogunye has joined us to discuss the latest bout of contention between the executive and the legislature. It's a pleasure having you on the program, sir.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Let me start this way. Was the president right to have rejected the electoral sequence adjustment bill passed by the National Assembly?
Well, I won't answer the question in the mode of whether the president was right or whether the president was wrong. He had a power to exercise under the Constitution, and the president has exercised that power.
Okay.
He's given reason for exercising that power, for declining to assent to the bill. In other words, the president vetoed that bill. And he's giving reasons. And what are his reasons? One, he said regarding the amendment of the sequence or the order of the election under Section 25 of the Electoral Act, that it will not be right to have that reordering to make the election a three-tier election instead of a two-tier election. And the president also disagreed with the amendment to Section 138 of the Electoral Act, which limits the grounds upon which a petition could be brought. Okay. That's an election petition, a petition challenging the outcome of an election. There are 4 grounds there, but they've deleted 2 grounds, so the president quarreled with that. And the president finally quarreled with the amendment proposed to Section 155 of the Electoral Act, which the president felt would impinge on the power of the state to organize local government elections. The National Assembly sought to amend that section to make INEC to play a bigger role in the election, local government election. And so the president felt that perhaps that would violate the principle of federalism. So the president gave reasons, and it's now up to the National Assembly to see whether they could muster the 2/3 majority vote to torpedo the veto of the president. In other words, to override the president's veto.
Elections are usually expensive. And the president actually, the Constitution still stipulates for a 2-1, 2-tier 1, which is also expensive. If peradventure it becomes a 3-tier, wouldn't it be too expensive?
Well, I'm not into budget making for elections, and it's dangerous to assume. I think that the bone of contention is not about the cost. And instructively, the president has not alleged in his letter to the National Assembly, declaring that he's refused to give his assent, that the election will now be more expensive than it used to be, that it will be costlier to hold that election if it were a three-tier election compared to when it was a two-tier election. So it is not the budget, it is not the cost. It's not even the possibility that it will shut down the country for about a month, because when elections are held in the country, we know that everything will be in a state of stalemate, so to speak.
So it's expensive?
But it's not about the cost.
Relatively?
It's not about the cost.
Okay.
It's not about the cost. What the contention is what it's not being said. There is an assumption that if the presidential election were to be conducted first, as it was the case in 2015,
okay,
then there will be a bandwagon effect on the other elections. And that once the president is elected, that the president who has been elected and the party of that president will then dictate the outcome of the other elections. Now, you have legislators who have gone rogue, so to speak. They've broken ranks with their party as if they were practicing a zero option system as was being practiced in Uganda under Yoweri Museveni. So it's as if they are partyless. They do what they like, they don't toe party lines and all that. And so many of them think, and indeed that boast has been made, that many of them will not return to the National Assembly. So they are enamored of having the election conducted first. So it's a survivalist strategy.
So the amendment is self-serving? To
ensure that they are secure, and then the president could then be on his own if his election were to come last, as they are proposing. Now, that amendment itself is not a wrong-headed amendment, because in the general election, as it was the case before, you start from the local to the national. That's the order. Okay? It was at the point that we had this reversal to what it is now. And so in a way, the legislators can indeed argue with plausibility that what they are trying to do is to have an amendment that will restore what used to be the case before now, and that therefore they could not be faulted. But as I've stated here, what is the bone of contention is the reordering that may affect the interests of both sides. And I think that that's what it is that is not being said. Okay. So if it's just about reordering two-tier, three-tier and all that, whether the presidential election comes first or last, really will not matter if we are to have a free and fair election. But because largely elections in these parts are micromanaged, so to speak, by political forces, political interests. So they are supremely interested in this order of the election because they know that there are a lot of possibilities that will emerge if the election is ordered in such a way that either party will then have the first shot first or last, as the case may be.
As it is now, even in the National Assembly is divided on this. The two-term governor of Nasarawa State, Senator Adamu, is reported to be leading some senators who are actually against the amendment. Is this surprising to you?
Legislators in Nigeria don't surprise me. Because politics here is played as if we just running theatrics. These are not, they are old men, and they've occupied certain positions, and I'm saying this with all sense of responsibility. Politics is played in such a way in Nigeria. Legislative business is conducted in Nigeria. Executive business is conducted in Nigeria in a way that will almost make you puke. Because it's indecent. You talked about a two-term governor who was in that National Assembly when that bill was passed. He was part of that National Assembly. So what did he do then? So the president has now exercised his power under Section 58 of the Constitution. Subsection 5 is vetoed it. So the thing has now reverted to the National Assembly, of which he is a part. So this obscurantist attitude, this blockade. So what do you want to do? You don't want the National Assembly to then exercise its power. The president hasn't exercised his own. I understand what democracy is all about. So if you disagree, since you are in that National Assembly, it's not by coming to the media and say that you are leading. Go there and vote. Let the vote be cast. So that if those who want the bill to stay through could muster the 2/3 majority, then they have their way. But the president, on behalf of whom presumably that senator, a governor turned senator, is fighting, has an option. If he had received wise counsel, had an option not to assent to that bill and be ambivalent about it and still made the process. Okay. And thereby use that to negotiate, to see whether they could have a rapprochement and then, have a kind of settlement that would not lead to this confrontation. And what do I mean by that? What do I mean by that? There are two, under our extant laws, under the Constitution, there are two ways of passing bills and of assenting to bills. You have the money bill or the appropriation bill under Section 59, and you have ordinary bills under Section 58 of the Constitution. For the money bills of the appropriation bill, because of its importance, it has to do with the finances of the country. If it is sent to the president for assent, within 30 days, the president must either sign or decline to sign. And if he declines to sign, automatically that bill will revert to the National Assembly for a 2/3 vote to override the president's veto or to override his refusing to sign without indicating so. Under Section 58, for ordinary bills, there's a gap. The president has 30 days to either sign or decline to sign. However, the president may then refuse not to sign without saying so. And therefore, the National Assembly will not have the power to then take the bill back to vote on it. That's what previous presidents have done by keeping bills in the cooler. Ordinary bills, the president will not indicate anything and then use that to negotiate. So, but this president felt confident that he could veto it. So having vetoed it, having exercised his own powers, why would you not allow the National Assembly to exercise its own power? That's democracy as far as I'm concerned. And if you are dissatisfied after that is done, you then take that to the court to exercise the power of judicial review, so that the court will then look at that section to see whether it conflicts with any provisions of the Constitution, as many people have argued, for example. Okay. Many people have argued, for example, that INEC under Section 76, Section 116, Section 132, and Section 178 of the Constitution has the prerogative to fix the dates of election. Those sections relate to election to the National Assembly, gubernatorial election, presidential election, state House of Assembly election, so to speak. So that INEC has the power to fix those dates. And that under the third part of the schedule to the Constitution, paragraph 14 and 15 in particular, stipulating the powers of INEC, that INEC has the power to manage and conduct the election. Therefore, they've argued that INEC does not only have the power to pick the dates, INEC also has the power to pick the sequence, to determine the sequence and the order in which election will be conducted. Those who are on the other side are saying, no, dates are different from sequence of an election. And that in any case, this current sequence, this current order, is contained in Section 25 of the Constitution, of the Electoral Act, which was made by the National Assembly. So if the National Assembly had made a law, Electoral Act, and that order is contained in that act, the presupposition here is that that National Assembly that has the power to make that law then also has the power to amend it. So why are you bellyaching now that the National Assembly does not have the power to amend the law it made in the first instance? Okay? So the matter can then be settled once the National Assembly exercises its power and you're dissatisfied with that, then take it to the court so that the court can then exercise its power of judicial review. That's how I feel democracy works. Not by saber-rattling, by leaving the floor of the National Assembly and coming out and say that I'm supporting the president and whatever. That's indecent. I don't like that.
Okay, well, talking about the judicial angle now, Justice Ahmed Mohammed of the Federal High Court Abuja actually gave another restraining National Assembly from taking steps to pass into law the electoral amendment bill till the adjourned date. Will this still stop the National Assembly from doing anything?
You know, as a lawyer, and even as a non-lawyer, we're not expected to discuss a pending litigation or a pending adjudication in such a way as to be prescriptive on how that case will turn or how it will not turn.
Okay.
However, one can say generally that there's something that is very dear in a presidential system of government. That's the principle of separation of powers. You have the legislature that makes the law, you have the executive that enforces the law, and you have the judiciary that interprets the law. Now, the judiciary interprets the law, but it also helps to stabilize the polity because it's the only body, it's the only arm of government that can review the conduct of the two other arms, that can strike out an executive decision for being ultra vires the power of the executive, for being illegal, for being unconstitutional, that can strike down a legislation in whole or in part using what is called the blue pencil rule, wading through sections of a law and looking at the sections that are deleterious, that are bad, and then striking those sections out and still saving the legislation the way it is, right? It's the only arm that can do that. Now, when the legislature is on course, when it is considering legislation, meaning that that legislation is not yet consummated, my sincere position is that you cannot disturb the legislature from finishing its work. Nigerians are interested, I believe, in seeing that INEC is well positioned to conduct the two governorship elections that are coming up, that of Ekiti and the other state that is coming up now, the two that are coming up this year, and that proceeding from that and Osun, by the way, Osun State, proceeding from that INEC is well positioned to conduct next year general election very well, improving on its 2015 achievement. Now, we know that INEC of recent has not been able to come clean regarding voters registration, particularly as it relates to underage voters registration.
Which we also saw some of this in Kano.
In Kano, and it's so shameful because it was obvious and the pictorial evidence was there.
Very sad.
At the time, you know, there was a spin that was suggested, oh, this is a Kenya situation, not the Nigerian situation and all that. And people say, you're kidding. Look at Nigerian logo on the jacket of the election monitors and even the ballot boxes. Look at the Nigerian logo that are there. You know, that kind of thing. And so INEC became tongue-tied and couldn't, you know, tight-lipped and tongue-tied and couldn't say anything any further. So Nigerian people want to see how INEC will be able to improve on its achievement.
APC is largely populated in the National Assembly. It's a ruling party. Yet there seems to be so many intra-party crises within that party. Why is it seemingly unable to manage its crisis?
You know, politicians more or less are like robbers who are fighting over loot. The process is violent because the reason, the basic reason why politicians, go into politics in this climate is not to serve the people. So there will be quarrel, there will be fight, there will be disunity, there will be schism, and because these are power mongers, they're not there principally because they want to serve anybody. They are in business by other means. So if you think that you're going to have cohesion in the parties and it's not only about APC, it's all how did the APC emerge? Why does anybody think, seriously speaking, that the APC, there is an amalgam of disparate interest group, that is a beneficiary of the disunity of the PDP? Why would anybody think, seriously speaking, that it will now come and be the epitome of cohesion, as be an exemplar of party discipline, of people that are united, with common purpose and common agenda and common interest? It's not going to happen.
Barrister Ogunye, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Yes, my pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Strictly Politics continues in just a moment. Do stay tuned.
I'm a business owner, and like every business owner, on a day-to-day basis, you have to deal with a lot of things. Some are nice, some are not so nice. And it could become very distracting. And for me, I keep myself above all the distractions by ensuring that inside me, I have the right information that keeps me focused, clear, and grounded on what it is my ultimate visions are. That's why I pay attention to Pastor Chris. And I invite you to do the same. And there is no better time and no better opportunity to do that than with the Pastor Chris in Every Home campaign. Now, we spend a lot of time listening to all kinds of information. Now, I advise you to do this one this time. Try to spend your time focusing on the Word of God as preached by Pastor Chris and see how much farther it'll take you. For this campaign, we will watch, we will spread, and we will sponsor. Everybody needs Pastor Chris in every home. And that's exactly what's going to keep you over in this time and in time to come.
That's our political journey today on Strictly Politics. Do keep it there with us next week. Remember that Nigeria can only be developed by Nigerians, and ensure that within your little sphere of influence, you're contributing positively to the development of our dear country. I am Segun Adebo Wale. I'll see you next week.